Hello, welcome. My name's Samantha Geary. I am an MLIS student with the University of Alabama, and I'm a children's librarian in Oregon. And this LibGuide is literacy information for children's librarians. And I imagine that you are watching this because you are a public librarian who wants to know more about literacy and how children learn to read and how they're taught how to read so that we can further help patrons when they come in. So I don't have a background in elementary education. I don't teach school-aged children. And so I feel like when students come in with very specific questions or parents have very specific concerns for their children and who are kind of lacking some reading proficiencies, I don't really know where to start. So this was a broad coverage of a lot of topics to help me navigate these conversations and to really be supportive of those families. So there are 4 sections kind of located up top, and then there are all of these topics within there. And so we'll start with early literacy. This is what we cover a lot in the public libraries, in mine at least. And so your story times and how to help parents see themselves as educators for those birth through pre-K kids. For emergent readers, that section will look at how children learn how to read, what's involved with it, and how you can support them. And for struggling readers or reluctant readers, this is ways to offer guidance to parents and the students, ways to improve your reader's advisory. Excuse me. And then this section on dyslexia, this is just an overview, gives you an information for what it is and what it's not, and ways that you can accommodate dyslexic patrons in your library. Let's look at early literacy. This is what literacy is, some book recommendations for your story times, resources for parents for that early literacy age, and then ways to build your story time skills. That's all in here. So we have some professional resources, these books here, and I want to bring our attention to the Storytime Skill Builders. This is from CLEL, Colorado Libraries for Early Literacy, and they have all of these topics and ways that you can incorporate these items into your story times. So let's look at STEM. In this section, it's going to provide us with a video. And in this video, the librarian is going to say what her goals are, what she's going to read, how she's going to kind of teach this within her story time. And then you get to see the story time in action with parents and kids present. So that's all that. And it's in about a 6-minute video. And then the handout is for the librarian to use for their reference. So this says what STEM is, offers things to try, provides some book suggestions and ways to get started. So if you are a new librarian or you need to train a librarian for story times, this is a wonderful resource. And back in the LibGuide, all of these items would help a new librarian navigate story times. Emergent readers, this is about teaching your child or teaching children how to read. And so in the left-hand column, this is really about information about literacy and how you acquire reading skills. And then the right-hand column, this is more about ways that you're going to use it in your library. So this is just background information, whatever's on the left side. We have Scarborough's reading rope, and this is a great visual to see all of these elements and how they all tie together to create skilled readers. We have two different takes on reading, science of reading, simple view of reading. And here I'm going to enlarge this image by clicking the PNG here. And so this infographic is showing that a student needs to know all of the letters. Then they need to know what those letters, what sounds they make. And then they have to be able to break up the sounds to create the words. And that's going to generate their meaning. So that's all within reading, all of those skills. So what you'll really need in practice is knowing all of the different reading levels. So this is an overview of what those reading levels are. Most schools will use their own. And then I have always had trouble when a student comes in looking for level J books, not knowing what those are. And now you have a great resource here. So level J would fit in right here. And I would just click in there. And this website, they're trying to sell us books. So we're going to kind of look past that and look here. So level H books, level I, getting close, level J books. So when I click this and I scroll down, it's going to show me the images, the images and the level that it is. So lots of Fly Guy, Pigeon, and Dr. Seuss. That's what I'm seeing. So I would be able to, if I had this LibGuide bookmarked, kind of quickly find this resource and be able to find the books for the child, because in my library's catalog, we don't recognize all of the different reading levels. We recognize some of the AR, but that's it. And so that's there. And then there's information here about phonics, because it's coming out that phonics is a very crucial component to reading, and kids need to know all of the phonics in order to decode the words. So I will say that the free printables from Florida Center for Reading Research covers pre-K through 5th grade, and they have wonderful resources. And so they'll have a teacher resource on each section, and then all of these different lessons. So that's there. Let's go over to struggling readers. So struggling readers and reluctant readers, they're kind of the same thing. For some reason, the student doesn't want to read. They think it's hard to read. They just refuse to read. So based on our knowledge that we're learning, there might be bigger issues going on. There might be some reading issues. So because I don't consider public librarians, or I don't consider myself an expert or a reading specialist, these are some resources that you can use to offer as an information specialist. Like, oh, you know, maybe there's something bigger going on. Let me look up some information for you. So here are some resources that you could pass on to the parent. But in general, you're just going to do basic reader's advisory. And these are some ways that you can mix it up in what you're recommending. You can ask them what they've liked to read previously, and that's different than asking them what grade they're in or what their reading level is. So you're just catering your reader's advisory to what they're interested in. So audiobooks and playaways, graphic novels, and nonfiction. And there's a bunch of items recommended in there. High-low books. This is a category of books that are written as high interest and low vocabulary, low vocab. No, I just said that, low complexity. So there are some publishers that specify in the like high-low series, but there are more publishers than that, and then some reading lists to give you ideas. And then I'm going to look at this Lexile book finder, and we are going to use this in tandem with a level chart. So let's say you have a 7th grader who is actually reading more at a low 4th grade level. So low 4th grade might be 770, and the 3 through 4 is 770, 790. We're going to do 770 to 850, and we'll see what we get. So we're going to say 770 to 850. We're going to search. And this will give us an output of a bunch of books that match that. So I'm getting some where are books, some who was books. And basically, you just want them to look appropriate to that 7th grader. You don't want them to be too babyish. And what's wonderful is I can also add this extra filter, high-low. And now the books that I am given look even more intriguing to a teenager. And so if I hover over the covers, they're going to give me a summary. So that's a great way to use the Lexile. This final tab, dyslexia, it's just talking about what dyslexia is, what it isn't, what the common symptoms are. That's right here, myths and facts, and websites for further information, all here. On the right-hand column, this will talk about ways that you can incorporate your services to dyslexic patrons. So here are some guidelines, some tips, and creating dyslexic-friendly children's libraries. And here, this is how to use the dyslexic font on Libby. And if you have any other services like Hoopla, make sure that you're familiar with how they can access those on their as e-readers. And here are some assistive technology and website recommendations. All right, let's go back to the home page. This is the LibGuide for literacy information for children's librarians. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me here. Thank you.